As we discussed yesterday, in today's session, we'll discuss about SAP Activate methodology. Okay, so now what exactly is SAP Activate? So in SAP ECC, whenever we were working on any, let's say, implementation or maybe upgradation or global rollout projects, we were following the methodology that is ASAP methodology, a SAP methodology, right? So, what exactly is this methodology and why it is required? The methodology is a set of guided principles, okay, in which you have different phases. Okay, so for example, let's say you want to implement SAP as a customer. Now, the methodology is very important because what will happen is different consultants will apply their own mind in implementing the product. Okay, so let's say for example, you have a consulting team of 10 consultants, and if there is no proper framework where to start, what to do next, there is a lot of chances of confusion. Okay, so what exactly needs to be done, where exactly we should start, what should be our second phase, what should be our third phase. So you will not get that much clarity if you don't have a particular methodology in place. And that is exactly where SAP came up and they delivered the methodologies in SAP ECC itself, or maybe even in SAP R2 and R3 also there are a lot of methodologies. But the latest one that we know that we all of us worked on was SAP asset methodology. Now, what was there in SAP asset methodology? It was a again it was the principles which has different phases. Okay, so normally whenever we are thinking about SAP asset methodology, can you just tell me which are the five or whatever number of phases you remember in SAP asset methodology? Anyone? Which were the different phases?
Project preparation, blueprint preparation, and realization, final preparation, go live and cutover, go live and submit.
Right. So at the high level, these were the five different phases within SAP asset methodology. So it was starting with the initial preparation, which is also called as project preparation. So within project preparation, what we do before we jumpstart the project, before we go into the detailed discussions with the customer, there are a lot of things which are need to be prepared from the project point of view, project management point of view. So for example, which consultant will go to the project? Okay, who will be the project manager? What would be the resources required? What would be the timeline of the project? What would be the scope of the project? So all these things are nothing but part of project preparation. Okay, and then once your project preparation is ready, you go for the business blueprinting phase. What do you do in the business blueprinting phase? In BBB phase, we try to understand the requirements of the customer where we are implementing SAP. Okay, and based on those requirements, we recommend customers like how many company codes should be created, what should be the enterprise structure, okay, which fiscal year variant they should use, which chart of account they can use. Okay, so those things are finalized during the business blueprinting phase. So in short, the business blueprinting phase gives us the complete picture, like what exactly we need to set up in the system. Okay, so what exactly we need to configure, which are the different Z reports that we need to create. So most of the things we highlight in the business blueprint document. Now, once the business blueprint document is created, the next step is to actually perform those configurations. Okay, so for example, in the business blueprint document, you written that we will be creating this many number of company codes. This company code would be assigned to this fiscal year variant. There will be the common chart of account or maybe separate chart of accounts. There will be this much number of controlling areas. There will be this much number of customer vendor account groups. Whether the customer will be using automatic payment programs, so those configurations. Okay, so in short, whatever you have written in the business blueprint document that customer is going to implement this, you are actually going to configure those things in the system along with your custom codes. Okay, so In the business blueprint, if you have written something that this particular functionality customer is looking for, but this is not available in the standard SAP system, so we will go with the custom code. So even that creation of custom code also needs to be done during the realization phase. Okay, and realization phase ends when you completed all your configuration, everything, whatever was written in the business blueprint document has been configured in the system, and then starts the final preparation phase. In final preparation phase, what you do is you ask your customer to verify, you ask your customers to perform the testing, UAT and all, where he or she will see the system, they will try to do the transactions, and they will find out if everything is working correctly, or there are some kind of gaps, which means what the customer was expecting versus what you have configured. Okay, again, it will be to and fro because uh, many of the things will come back to you as a consultant that customer is not expecting this, we need to change this configuration. So after all this repetitions, you will finalize the UAT, and then customer is ready to finalize the date on which they will go for go live. Okay, and when they do the go live, you again need to migrate the data from their old legacy system and perform the data migration steps and all those things. And finally, you will go live, and then you start giving the normal support. Okay, so these are the normal 5 phases that we had in SAP asset methodology. Okay, so I think all of you were aware of this phases, but now can you tell me whether in your experience, whatever number of projects you worked on, how many customers are actually following SAP asset methodology? See, I'm not saying they are following SAP methodology. I'm saying practically they are following SAP asset methodology. Or do you think there are some deviations, or maybe there are some problems in SAP asset methodology due to which customers are deviating from it and they are not following SAP Activate methodology? Can you just share your experience? Anyone, just share your experience. Nothing is right or wrong here. It is just like I just want to know how much you understand SAP SF methodology, and what are your suggestions that this is something which is not put in SF methodology, and that is the reason customers always look for the different options.
But Gaurav, nowadays we don't see those many implementations, right? Direct implementations. So whatever we involve, it is like bit of any developments or like that. So in my case, I have involved in development projects only or testing
Okay.
projects.
Okay, so you never got a chance to work on implementation project, right?
Your voice is breaking.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. Okay, so you have not worked on any new implementation, end-to-end implementation project. But what about Amit? Amit, Mahesh, have you worked on any end-to-end implementation project? And do you have anything to share, like what exactly were the problems in SAP SF methodology due to which customers said no, let's deviate from there? Amit, can you hear me?
Hey Gaurav, this is Amit. Actually,
Yes, sir.
I'm outside. I'm not able to talk much. I'm in a listening
Okay.
mode now. I will be
Okay.
at my desk in next 10-15 minutes. Then we can talk.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. What about Mahesh? Mahesh, do you want to share something here? Sandeep?
Yes, Gaurav. So basically, in this asset methodology, the difficulty is that so whenever you are facing any issues or anything, you cannot come back straightforward to the like development or your activation phase. So as per me, that is the main issues. And yes, so sometimes it's difficult to do the like DevOps kind of activities. Suppose I'm doing some configuration and parallelly it should be the testing also going on, and if tester find any issues or any difficulties, so then and there it should be fixed or like do the rectification. But that is difficult in this process because lots of transport movement activities happen in this methodology that is not customized. So when the transport is moved to the development to quality and quality to production, it cannot reverse, right? You have to again do the configuration from the development environment, and then you have to go by like flow with the flow.
Okay. So that problem will even come in SAP S4 HANA also. When you're saying that, let's say you done some configuration and then later on that this configuration was not. We can just move. Thank you. So see, this problem will always be there, that you made some configurations and then you realize that something was wrong and customer was not expecting this particular thing, and then when you actually started testing in the system and customer is saying no, I want to change this. So anyways, you have to go back to the development system, you have to perform those changes, and then you have to move to the quality system. So that thing will definitely come. But the first thing that you said, the first point, that maybe you realize that whatever thing was done wrong, maybe at the very later stage. So for example, you started configuring the system in, let's say, June, and UAT was done in October. So 3 to 4 months you were doing the realization, and finally you started doing the UAT in the month of October. And in the October, the user who is testing, who is performing the UAT, he found out that there is something wrong. And now, after this 3 to 4 months, you need to actually go back and start performing this configuration again. Okay, so that is a challenge, that you already invested 3 to 4 months of time performing the configuration, and then you realize that the basic configuration that you have done, it itself was wrong, which requires a lot of rework. Okay, so if that issue could have been found in the, let's say, in the June itself or in the July itself, you could have saved a lot of time. Okay, so that is something which is problem with SAP SF methodology. Okay, I'll give you some more examples on what I think are the problems in SAP SF methodology. See, first of all, SAP SF methodology follows a waterfall model. Okay, I'll tell you what is a waterfall model. Waterfall model means you know, if I ask you, let's say if you're working on SAP ECC system, and if I just ask you, okay, which phase are you in currently in your SAP implementation project? So you will definitely give me the fixed answer, that I am in the business blueprinting phase, or maybe I am in the UAT phase, or maybe I am in the final preparation phase, right? So you will be giving the fixed answer. Why fixed answer? Because when we were using SAP SF methodology, the phases will only start, the next phase will only start once the previous phase has been closed. So for example, if your preparation phase is not completed, you cannot start the business blueprinting phase. Okay, so this is called as a waterfall model, which means you complete the first phase and then you go to the second one. Okay, so your business blueprinting sign off, till the time the business blueprinting sign off is not done, you cannot go for the realization phase. You cannot start configuring the system. Again, till the time you don't completely configure the system, you don't complete the realization phase, you cannot go to the final preparation phase. And same thing, like till the time you don't complete the final preparation phase, you cannot go to go live and support. Okay, so this is one of the issues with the SAP SF methodology, because it was following the waterfall model. Okay, now what is the problem? So let's say even if it is following the waterfall model, what is the problem here? The problem is, as I told you, let's say in the business blueprinting phase, you have written something which was not understood by the customer. So let's say you have written the line in the business blueprinting document that we will configure the settings like this, and then the business blueprinting sign off took maybe months. Okay, so it is normal, right? You submit the business blueprint document, the users They need to review the business blueprint document, and till the time they sign off, it takes maybe at least one complete month to review that business blueprint document. Okay, and after it is reviewed, when the configuration is started, okay, you perform the configuration, and after 2 months, when you asked the user to perform the test, there they found out that this is something which we were not expecting, and this is something which is not as per our business requirements. So what you need to do, you need to go back maybe 2 months back where you perform that configuration, and that configuration may affect other configurations also which you have performed. So the problem is you need to do a lot of rework. Okay, what is the base solution here? What should be the solution for this kind of situations, to avoid this kind of situations? Is when you create a business blueprint document, there itself do the prototyping. You know what is prototyping? Okay, I'll give an example of the prototyping. So let's say you created a company code, okay, and now in the company code you specified that my chart of account will be this, my fiscal year variant will be this, and my field status variant will be this. So before you complete all the configurations of AP, AR, and everything in the configuration, involve the end user at every point in the configuration itself. Okay, so don't wait till the time you complete all the complete configuration and then go for UAT. UAT should be part of the normal configuration process itself. Okay, so which means, let's say you configure general ledger accounting, involve the user, understand whether there is any problem before you go ahead and configure AP and AR. This is just for example. Even in GL accounting also, you can divide the project into 3-4 parts. So you complete the first part, you show it to the client, you check it whether these are the correct configurations that you have done, and then only go to the next phase. Okay, but in SAP asset methodology doesn't allow that. Waterfall model says that you complete the first process and then only you can go to the next one. Again, you complete the next one, then only you can go to the third one. Okay, so this waterfall model is one of the problems with SAP asset methodology. Now I'll come to point number 2, which is again a problem in asset methodology. For this, I will ask you one simple question. Let's say you are working on a project, you are working on the implementation project. Now, in this implementation project, let's say you understood the business requirements from the customer and you submitted the business blueprint document. Okay. Now, my question number 1 to you is, once you submit the business blueprint document, how many times customer will ask you, or customer will tell you, you have written something in the business blueprint document, maybe you have written business area, or maybe you have written profit center, or something like that, which we are not able to understand what exactly it means. Do you come across this kind of situations in the implementation project? That whatever you have written in the business blueprint document, customer is not able to understand that. The key terminologies which are SAP related. Okay, so you know what is company code, you know what is business area, so you just written very straightforward, we will create this much number of business areas. But how many times customer doesn't understand that what exactly is business area, and he comes and asks you, can you tell me what exactly is business area and how exactly it will work? This is just a question to you. Do you agree that customers will come and ask you this kind of questions when you submit the business blueprint document? Akash, can you
Yeah,
answer? Yeah, so customers come, right?
yeah, Gaurav, it's okay.
Okay. Akash, you are there on the call? I think you are working on the implementation project, so you can actually give us some.
Hello?
Yes, Akash, can you hear me?
It's a little bit problem.
You're not able to hear properly?
Yes, sir. Network issue, I think.
Okay. Okay. So have you understood my question, what I'm asking?
Please repeat.
Yes, my question is, in the implementation project, when you submit the business blueprint document, How many times customers tells you that you have written something in the business blueprint, like business area, profit center? Can you explain that what exactly it means?
What is the?
What exactly is business area, or what exactly is profit center? What exactly is fiscal year variant? So many times customers are not able to understand these terms, right? Do you agree to that?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. So in short, what I mean to say here is normally when we create a business blueprint document, we use lot of terminologies. We use lot of SAP related terminologies which are not familiar to the customer. Okay, and what is the situation? In that case, what you will do? If a customer is saying, you are written fiscal year variant and I'm not able to understand, can you explain? So the first try you will give, you will try to explaining what is fiscal year variant theoretically. Maybe you will use a board, you will tell him, okay, these are the different types of fiscal year variant we have in SAP system and this is how they work. But again, the customer will come back again and he will say, even if you explain me on board or you explain me theoretically, still I'm not able to understand. Okay, and they will ask you, can you show this thing in the system, in the business blueprinting phase itself? Okay, normally the system is available to you only during the realization phase, once the business blueprinting has been completed. But customers, this is a very normal situation. According to my experience, in every business blueprinting workshops, we were required to show the SAP systems to the customers. Okay, maybe the demo system, maybe the sandbox system, maybe some other customer system also. Some companies do that. Okay, so in short, customers will always ask you to show something in the system before they sign the document. Okay, but showing the system in the business blueprint document is nowhere mentioned in SAP asset methodology. Okay, so that is the reason I told you there are a lot of places where we deviate from the methodology. So although we say we are following SAP asset methodology, but showing the demo system or we following the agile methodology, this is something which was not available in SAP asset methodology. So these are two big changes which SAP brought in SAP Activate methodology. Now SAP is straightforwardly saying that, okay, we know that customers are asking you to show the demos. So why should we wait for the customers that he asks the question? Let's show him the demo system on day one itself. So when you are going for the business blueprinting workshops, instead of having the theoretical discussions, show the system directly to them. Okay, so in SAP Activate methodology, one of the very important thing is, one of the very new thing is showing the system to the client during the workshops. Okay, in the business blueprinting workshops. Now the question is, which system will you show? Because our normal systems are only available during the realization. Okay, customer specific system will only be available during the realization. So which systems are you going to show? So SAP has provided the cloud trial versions. Okay, there are cloud trial versions available which can be used for demonstration purpose to the customers. Okay, so I'll explain you where exactly those cloud trial versions are available, how to access that, and what is happening in the industry shortly. But I hope you understood now these two important points. Number one is in SAP asset methodology, we were following the waterfall model. And second thing is, although in business blueprinting phase, there was nothing written related to the demonstration to the customers, but we were still following that and we were deviating from the asset methodology. Okay, so now let's talk about what is SAP Activate and how SAP Activate is better than SAP asset methodology. So let me start the slides. So what is SAP Activate? SAP Activate is one simple, modular, and agile methodology supporting all S4 HANA transition scenarios. Okay, what do you mean by all transition scenarios? All transition scenarios, if you remember, yesterday we discussed, not yesterday, maybe a day before yesterday, what are the three different kind of projects? We have implementation project, we have system conversion project, and the third one is landscape transformation. So this SAP Activate methodology supports all three S/4HANA transition scenarios. And the other thing is one simple. So it is simple compared to the asset methodology. When you go through the details, you will find out why it is simple. Modular, which means it is divided into different modules. So even SAP asset methodology was modular because it was divided into different phases. And agile, this is very important. Agile is a term which is being followed in the software industry from quite some time now, because even the software development projects, they are following the waterfall model earlier. But nowadays, every software development is following the agile and scrum master. So these two terminologies, agile, scrum master, project management, these are like improved a lot from last some years. And SAP is trying to make the use of this latest trends. Okay, so they want to make their methodology, which is agile, which uses the scrum master concept and which also utilizes the best project management practices. Okay, going to the point number 2, it provides full support for initial deployment and continuous business innovation. Okay, so it is not only for the first time implementation that you can use SAP Activate methodology, but you can use the Activate methodology for continuous business innovations also, which means, see, once you implement your SAP system, it doesn't mean that you are not going to do anything later on. So once you implement, there will be a lot of small projects that you will be doing in your organization. So this SAP Activate you will not be only using for the initial deployment, but it will be also used for continuous business innovation, for continuous projects that you will be working on your organization. It has a harmonized implementation approach for cloud, on-premise, and hybrid, which means not only you can use SAP Activate methodology for on-premise, you can use it for cloud, and you can also use it for hybrid deployment options. So we already discussed what is cloud and what is on-premise. Day before yesterday, we already discussed what do you mean by SAP S/4HANA on-premise system vis-a-vis what is SAP S/4HANA cloud system. What is hybrid? Hybrid means mix of both. Okay, so normally in any SAP implementation project, there are different components required. Like you have SAP S/4HANA on-premise component, but you also want to use Hybris, you also want to use Ariba, you also want to use SuccessFactors. So this Hybris, Ariba, SuccessFactors, and all these are cloud solutions. So you are using your core system on premise and you are using this advanced features on cloud. So you are actually using mix of both on premise as well as cloud. So this kind of setup is called as a hybrid setup. Okay, so SAP Activate methodology is available for all three scenarios. Number 4 point, it has a broad coverage of SAP solutions starting with SAP S/4HANA. Which means SAP Activate methodology is not only used for SAP S/4HANA, but now whatever new products SAP will bring, like Hybris, like SuccessFactors, like Ariba, so even the implementation of these cloud-based services can be done using SAP Activate methodology. So it has a broad coverage. It is not only SAP S/4HANA system, it is a broad coverage. It will be used in all the different products of SAP. And finally, it is the successor of SAP and SAP launch methodology. What do you mean by successor? In our course, you will find this word a lot of times, successor. Successor means, so this Activate is replacing SAP. Okay, so which means earlier we were using SAP, now the successor of SAP is Activate. So earlier we were using SAP ECC, now we are using successor of ECC, which is S/4HANA. Okay, so same thing, like successor of SAP and SAP launch methodology is nothing but SAP Activate methodology. So going forward, for SAP S/4HANA projects, we are not going to follow SAP SAP methodology. We need to follow SAP Activate methodology. Okay, saying that, let me tell you one more thing. There is very few knowledge available on SAP Activate methodology in the market. Okay, so even bigger companies, when they are implementing SAP S/4HANA, Even they are telling to the customer that we will follow SAP Activate methodology, but actually speaking, they are still sticking to SAP SF methodology. So they are not using the demo systems, they are not following the agile methodology, they are just following the same old methodology which was followed till now. Okay, so saying that we are following and actually following are two different things, right? So why I'm sharing this knowledge is it may happen that when you work on the project, you come across, oh, they are following SAP SF methodology, but we learned that we can only use SAP Activate. No, it is not the case. Methodology are just recommendations from SAP. Okay, what you are following, it is up to the customer and it is up to the consulting partner. Okay, so you just need to remember that SAP's recommendation is follow SAP Activate methodology whenever you are going for SAP S4 HANA projects. Any question on this slide?
Yeah, Gaurav.
Okay, let's go to the next one. Now, SAP Activate consists of three different pillars. So see, SAP SF was only the methodology. Okay, it was only providing the methodology which has 5 phases. But when it comes to SAP Activate, it is not only the methodology. You can see there are three pillars. Methodology is one of those. Okay, very important question from the interviews or maybe in the exam point of view. What are the three key pillars? Three pillars of SAP Activate. So you have to select methodology, best practices, and guided configuration. Okay, so now what exactly do you mean by pillars? So methodology is one thing that SAP Activate provides you a methodology, but apart from the methodology, it also provides the best practices. Now, what do you mean by best practices? So again, if you go to session day before yesterday, we discussed about on-premise versus on-cloud. And we discussed that if you are going for on-cloud system, customers need to follow only the best practices. They cannot perform their own customizations. They cannot create their transactions and all. They have to follow the standard delivered content from SAP. So that standard delivered content is called as best practices. So whatever is available in SAP, standard SAP, that is nothing but the best practices. Okay. So now saying that, let's say I want to implement a SAP system. I am a customer. And let's say I want to implement 1809. Now 1809 was just launched 2 months back. Okay, and not even there are many consultants who know how exactly 1809 will work. What is new in 1809, how the processes will work, what are the changes, what are the new screens. Okay, so that is a major problem, right? Let's say if SAP delivers the product without any information on how to use it, then definitely you will not be able to use that product at all, right? And that is the reason whenever SAP releases a product, they provide the base practice content. Okay, so base practice content can be activated in your system. Okay, so as soon as you use SAP system, I will show you where exactly you will find the SAP base practices in your own system. And I'll also show you where exactly SAP has provided the documentation, which as a consultant, we can go, we can download that document, and it will be very helpful whenever you want to provide the training to the end user, or you want to create an end user document, or you want to create a UAT document. So there are a lot of templates available from SAP in the base practice content. Okay, so I'll show you where exactly to download those. And third one is guided configuration. Now, what is guided configuration? So yesterday, I think Varun or Sandeep asked this question that in SAP Fiori, can we also perform the configuration, or it is just for the end users? So my answer was, in SAP Fiori, as of now, when we are going for on-premise, in case of on-premise, there are very few configuration apps available. Okay, most of the apps which are available on SAP Fiori are transactional, analytical, and fact sheets. But there are few apps which will actually allow you to perform the configuration. Okay, so for example, let's say you want to create a business area or you want to determine the account determination. Okay, so those basic things can be done using SAP Fiori screens. That is nothing but guided configuration. So what is the difference between the guided configuration and the normal configuration? If you want to perform the normal configuration, you have to go for SPRO. Within SPRO, you go to enterprise structure. Within enterprise structure, select financial accounting. Okay, so there is a huge path that you have to follow to perform that configuration, or maybe you remember the T code. But with SAP Fiori, SAP has provided a kind of tool which is used for the configuration, and the screens are just like a guided, like it will keep on asking you simple questions, and based on that, it will automatically suggest you that you need to create business areas. Okay, so this is something which is very good for the companies to also understand why they are using business areas and all. Okay, but the restriction here is this guided configuration is mainly available on cloud. Okay, on premise, only few configuration apps are available, but in cloud, all the configurations in SAP Cloud. Please understand this. I think we have not discussed this point day before yesterday. If you are using cloud solution, let's say you got a project where customer is actually working on SAP S/4 HANA Cloud. In cloud system, you will never get SPRO access. Okay, SPRO access will not provided to you if you are working on the cloud solution. The reason is SPRO is restricted. Okay, so if let's say if I give you SPRO access and you go to the client level and let's say make the changes at the country and currency level, so what would be the problem? The problem would be all the other company codes which are using the same system, they will get affected. Okay, and that is the reason in the cloud solution you will never get SPRO access. So the question is then how will I perform the configuration? So you have to perform the configuration using this guided configuration Fiori apps. Okay, so guided configuration is a concept which is mainly delivered for cloud solutions. So if you are going for cloud solutions, definitely you will be able to see guided configuration. But if you are going for on-premise, there are very few apps which will be available on Fiori. But yes, going forward, maybe 2-3 years down the line, you'll also get a guided configuration available on premise also. Okay, so to summarize, SAP Activate is not only the methodology, but it is a combination of methodology, best practices, and guided configuration. Okay, so we will understand all these three things in detail. Guided configuration will not be able to see practically in the system, but the best practices and methodology we are going to talk in detail. So let's go to the next one. Now this is the methodology. Okay, so SAP Activate road to S/4 HANA. I think this is cutting this, so let's keep it here. Okay, so it is road to SAP S/4 HANA. So these are the different phases in SAP Activate methodology. Okay, so now if you try to correlate these phases with SAP SF methodology, the initial preparation is called as prepare. Okay, so initial preparation is this one, prepare. The business blueprinting is explore. Okay, realization is realize. Final preparation is deploy, and go live and support is run. Okay, but there is one more called as discover. Now, what exactly is discover? So now, since SAP S/4 HANA, every version is a completely new product, right? So before customers decide to go for S/4 HANA, they want to discover, they want to learn what is new in S/4 HANA or what functionalities we can get in S/4 HANA. Okay, not only customers, even we as consultants, we need to upgrade ourselves every time whenever SAP comes up with a new version. So now let's say we are running 1809. maybe next year SAP will come up with 1909. So we need to discover what is new in 1909. Okay, so there will not be much of major changes, but still it is good to always be updated on whatever is available in the market, the latest version. Okay, so discover means you will try to understand what is available for the first time, what is new in the particular version compared to the previous version. So that is nothing but discovery. So for customers also, SAP recommends that before you decide on SAP S4 HANA, you discover, you try to learn what things are available in SAP S4 HANA and then take a decision. Okay, so how customers will discover? How will they? By going through the documents? Yes, obviously, SAP has provided a lot of documents. If you remember yesterday also I showed you one link which was a help link, and there were a lot of documentation available like what is new, what are the new features in S4 HANA, simplification list and all. So obviously that is one starting point where customers can go and try to understand what features are available in the new version. And second is you can see experience the cloud trial. You can see this one, experience the cloud trial. So as I told you, SAP has provided the cloud trial version. Cloud trial version means the customers who just want to see what is new in S/4HANA, they can ask SAP to provide a free cloud trial version which is available for 14 days. Okay, there are two types of cloud trial versions available in from SAP. The first one is for 14 days and second one is for 30 days. The first one which I am talking about, 14 days, is completely free. Okay, so you can go and see how exactly SAP Fiori screens will look like and all those things. Okay, the second one which is available, sorry, the first one which I'm telling you, it's the cloud trial version. Okay, it is a cloud. You will be only able to run the cloud server. If you want on-premise, if you want to see on-premise system, it is available for 1 month, but SAP is not charging you anything for that. But since this on-premise system needs a server where it can be installed, right? So Amazon is taking care of that. Amazon Web Services, AWS. And if you want to access that 30 days trial, Amazon will charge you based on how much time you are using. So let's say if you are using for 2 hours, Amazon will charge you for 2 hours. If you are using for 4 hours, Amazon will charge you for that much amount of time. So it is based on AWS service, which is available for the on-premise system. Okay, so in short, for customers, they will also get these two choices. They can go for the free cloud trial version or they can go with the AWS on-premise version. Okay, so to discover how exactly the new screens will look like, what will be the new processes that I will be getting. So all those things they can go for cloud trial version. Okay, once they discover, they will be able to decide whether they want to go for S/4HANA or not, what functionalities they should use, which functionalities they can upgrade from their current system. So once they decide, they will actually enter into the project. So then it will be starting as a normal project where the first phase is prepare, which is exactly same as your initial preparation phase in asset methodology. So what we do in the initial preparation, we start with defining the teams. We decide who is going to be handling the FI part, which consultant will be working on CO part, who will be the project manager, what would be the scope of the project, what would be the timeline of the project, what would be the location of the project. Okay, so normally all these things are taken care in the preparation phase. But there is one new activity which was not required earlier. Okay, in the preparation phase, we were only looking after the project management related activities, but there is now one more new thing which was not required earlier, and that is arranging the demo server. Because, as I told you earlier in SAP asset methodology, we were not showing any system to the client in the blueprinting phase. Okay, the blueprinting phase was completely theoretical. We were just creating the PDFs or Word documents and submitting to the customers, and customers were seeing the screens only during the realization phase. But when it comes to SAP Activate methodology, during the business blueprinting phase itself, we will be having different workshops where we will be showing actual system to the customer. We will be showing the system to the customer, explaining him how the things will work in SAP, and then based on that, they will understand what is the business area, what is the company code, what is the purchasing org, what is the profit center. So they don't have those questions. Like they should not come back and say, oh, you written something in the business blueprint document, but I don't know what exactly is a business area. Okay, because they will be able to see all these things during the explore phase itself. So in the explore phase, we will be having a lot of workshops where we will be explaining them how exactly SAP S4 HANA works, what are the key elements in SAP S4 HANA, and then and there itself, we will create a document. But instead of calling this document as business blueprinting, we will call it as a fit gap analysis document. Fit gap analysis document. Fit means you explain. Let's say you are explaining accounts payable to the users. Now, during accounts payables, you in the workshop you explain them how to create a vendor master, what is a vendor account group, what are the number ranges, okay, and there itself, when a customer has given you the list of account groups that they want to use, they have given you the number ranges that they want to use. So those things are available in the standard system. So you will just write that this particular requirement is completely fit into the system. So there is no modification required. Okay, but let's say during the AP process, when you try to explain them how the invoice will be created in SAP system, vendor invoice at 360, and customer said everything looks okay, but the way in which the due date is calculated in the system, I am not happy with the standard. I want to modify it and I want to maybe apply some new logic into it. Okay, so in that case, you will say it is a gap because that is not available in the standard system. Okay, so you will identify that gap and you will work on that gap. How can you solve it? Issue. Okay, that thing would be treated as a gap. Okay, so instead of creating the business blueprint document, in the explore phase, we will be creating the fit gap analysis document. Okay, so in the prepare phase, you will arrange the server. In the explore phase, you will use that server to demonstrate the scenarios. When you demonstrate the scenarios, customers will agree on some situations which you will say fit. Customers will disagree on a particular scenario where you will say it is a gap. Okay, and then in the realization phase, you will perform the configuration for the fit scenarios and you will develop the Z objects for the gap scenarios. So in short, you will actually perform the realization, you will actually perform the configuration as well as you will develop the system to suit the business requirements of the customer. Okay, and once the realization phase is completed, where you said, yes, now my all configurations are already done and my Z customs are also available, then you can go for the deployment. The deployment phase, what you will do, in the deployment phase, you will actually test the system, your users will actually test the system, they will perform the UAT, you will perform the data migration scenarios, okay, and finally, on one fine day, you will start using the system, that is, you will go live. Okay, so that is nothing but running the system. Okay, so these are on the higher level the different phases which you have in SAP Activate methodology. One very important thing, we understood the phases. So it is discover, prepare, explore, realize, deploy, and run. But what you can see here is this iteration. What do you mean by this iteration? This means we are following agile methodology. What do you mean by agile methodology now? So if you remember, I told you in SAP asset methodology, you cannot go to the explore phase till the time you don't complete the prepare. You cannot go to the realization phase till the time you don't complete the business blueprinting phase, right? But in SAP Activate methodology, you can always come back and forward because we are not following the waterfall model. Okay, so maybe you can say my AP process in the prepare phase, but my GL accounting is already in the realization phase. So you can actually perform multiple different processes at different phases. Okay, so if I ask you at any point of time in SAP S4 HANA, which is your current phase which you are doing, so you can answer me in such a way that our AP is almost finalized. We are in the deployment phase of AP, but for asset accounting, we are still in the realization phase. Okay, that is completely fine. But in SAP ECC, it was not possible like this because you were going for everything in one go. Okay, so you complete everything, asset accounting, realization, AP, AR, everything, then only you can go for the UAT phase, right? But here in SAP Activate methodology, you can actually work on different phases at the same time. Okay, and that is the reason it is called as Agile methodology. Agile means you are going to involve your end users on day-to-day basis. You are going to work on different phases at any particular point of time. There is no waterfall model where you cannot go to the previous step once you are on the next step. That is not like that. You can always come back on the previous step if required. Okay, any question on this slide?
Yes.
Gaurav,
Yes, Priyanka, go ahead.
So you said about the prepare phase where we show the client about this system, but this is the case where the SAP customer is new to SAP, because the customers who are actually using SAP, they are aware of. Or the second part of the question is it that case that we need to tell them how the new S4 HANA behave for example asset accounting or credit management, which is changed, this is how it is behave, and then we come to the explore phase where we do the fit gap analysis. So for existing customer, how this prepare phase work?
Okay. See, prepare is not showing. Prepare is just making sure that you have a software, you have a cloud version available which can be used for the demonstration purpose. Demonstrations will be done during the explore phase. Okay, so now coming to your question, during the explore phase, let's say you are required to arrange the workshop with the end users, but now your question is whether I should show them the entire process or I should show them only the new process. Now this completely depends upon the business requirements. Okay, so maybe customer is saying I know everything how SAP works, but he only knows what was implemented in his scenario. Okay, so just for example, if an end user, see, end user is not aware of the complete SAP system. End user is only aware of how his particular system works. Okay, so for example, if the last company who has implemented SAP in the current organization, they may have implemented based on their knowledge, but it's already been 10 years, let's say now, that there are a lot of changes in the standard SAP system, and customer is definitely not aware of that. So it is always better to start from scratch. Okay, whatever he knows, we can go fast, and whatever he doesn't know, he will be delighted to see that okay, this functionality is available, and we were never aware of this.
Agreed. Okay, thank you. And there's one more question related to it. When you said that suppose AP we are taking first and asset accounting is coming later wise. So generally, as we saw in the project, the quality box, how does it goes? So is it means that the servers are ready by that time? Because the experience is that for, till now the SF methodology, the server, the quality box, the test system gets ready afterwards. So in this case, it means all the quality system, test system, development system, all are ready, right? And then we are pushing process by process.
Again, it depends, Priyanka. So
Okay.
let's say, for example, definitely if the systems are not ready, you cannot go to the deployment phase. Even you cannot go for the realization phase itself, right? Let's say your system itself is not ready, so you cannot think of any process going into the realization phase.
Correct, correct.
Right, so we are assuming here that the system is ready, and then some of the processes you can start configuration, while some of the processes we are still in the discussion with the customer and you have still not finalized the scope.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? I think whatever points we discussed here will come in detail in the next slide. So maybe I'll go to the next slide and see. If you have any questions, you can stop. So this is just the.
Gaurav, one question.
Yes, sir.
See, in discover phase, you said that the customer will be experiencing the cloud trade version, right? Means he will be knowing the screens of SAP. And again, in the prepare phase, means what demonstration will we show again? Because you always before only use PC, right? This in cloud trade means what?
No, I said in the discover phase is something before you decide on the project. So let's say, for example, today there are a lot of customers who are either not using S3 at all, and there are some customers who are using S3 ECC, but they're still not decided to go for S4 HANA. So they are under discover phase because they are just discovering how SAP will help our business objective. Okay, so for example, if a current customer who is running SAP ECC, there are different vendors who are approaching them. Why shouldn't you? Why are you not going for SAP S4 HANA? But he is still discovering that if I go for SAP S4 HANA, what will I get? What benefits I'll get? Okay, so this is the question: what benefits I'll get? Then maybe some consulting companies will arrange a workshop with the customer where they'll explain them, okay, currently you are using this version of SAP and this features are not available. If you go for S4 HANA, you will get this new features. Okay, so this is discover. Customer is trying to understand what I will get out of SAP S4 HANA. But when we are going into the prepare and explore, this time customer has already started the project. So they already know that we are implementing SAP. And during that time, there will be detailed discussion. In the discover, it was just like, okay, let me take you the simple example. Currently, you are and you want to buy Apple. Okay, so first of all, before you buy Apple, you need to understand what benefits Apple will give you. So you are discovering. But once you bought Apple now you want to actually know what are the new features and how can I activate those features. So that is something which you are exploring on your own product. Right, Varun? So that is the basic difference between discover and do. Okay. So these things are explained in detail here. You can see we only included 4 phases, that is prepare, explore, realize and deploy, discover and run, because these are the processes which are before the project and after the project. But normally the project life cycle revolves around these 4 phases. So prepare is the phase which starts with the project setup. As I told you, you finalize the team, who will be handling the team, who will be responsible for FI, who will be responsible for SD and all, who will be my project manager, what will be my project timelines. Those things are decided during the prepare phase. Roadmap and approach. What do you mean by roadmap and approach? So customer also need to decide in the prepare phase whether they want to go for the cloud or they want to go for on-premise, right? So if a customer is interested in implementing SAP S4 HANA, they have to first decide whether they want to go for SAP S4 HANA cloud version or they want to go for SAP S4 HANA on-premise version. That is first question. The second question that they need to answer is whether they are going to implement the system as a new implementation or they are going to perform the system conversion. Okay, so these questions are answered in the preparation phase. Okay, that is the reason we written roadmap and approach. The third one is in the preparation phase itself, you need to finalize this system. Okay, so you need to arrange for the cloud trial version, which already has the best practices installed. So you can see start with the best practices. Now, once you have all these things ready, you have a team ready, you know what is the roadmap, you have the system which can be used for the demo purpose, you will enter into the explore phase. Now, in the explore phase, you have to start from here, right? So you can see this flow is like this. So you will start with activating the solution and rapid prototyping. So as I told you, you will be prototyping the system to the customer, where you will be explaining them how you can work on SAP S/4HANA system, how you can create a vendor, what are account groups, what are invoices, all these things you will just try to explain them. So it is not necessary that you will only arrange one workshop. There can be sequence of workshops. So there can be one workshop only on vendor master data. There can be another workshop which is only on vendor invoices. There can be third workshop which will be only on payments. Okay, so during those workshops, you will be collecting the fits and gaps. Okay, so what is agreed? The customer is saying yes, perfect. If SAP is able to provide me this functionalities, I want to go with the standard one. But somewhere, if the SAP customer is saying no, 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 this is something which I follow differently in my current system, and I want to adjust SAP accordingly, and I want to make a custom out of that, then you will identify it as a gap. So you'll be having fit and gap analysis here. After fit and gap, you will create a data design document. Now, what is a data design document? This is nothing but FS, functional specification and technical specification. So you identified there is a gap, and here you are trying to specify how are you going to fill that gap. Okay, let's take a practical example. One of our customers, it was, we were explaining the EBS process, okay, electronic bank reconciliation process. Now, customer said, yes, it is very good functionality available in SAP, but we want to automate it. We want more level of automation, which is not possible in the standard system. Okay, so they said, okay, we want to add this things in our custom object. So looking at the requirement, first of all, we identified that particular feature as a gap. Okay, and then we understood what customer wants, and we written that in the document, in the functional specification document. Now, after writing the things in the functional specification documents, we discuss this FS with the customer. Okay, so normally what we do, we understand the requirement, we create a FS which is partially completed. This is a normal process which every company is following. We just create a FS just for one document which is in the records. Okay, otherwise you cannot get anything in FS. You normally directly sit with your developer and you tell him what exactly needs to be done. But it is always a good practice that you write a good FS. And before you involve your developer here, you discuss this FS with the customer, just to make sure that whatever you have written, it is the same thing that customer is expecting out of that functionality, out of that customization, right? So you will create a FS document before you give it to your ABAPer. You will have a different round of discussions with the customer. Okay, you can see this process is also iterative. So you understood the requirements, you created a document, customer said no, there are some changes. So again you discuss the document, again you created version 2 of that document, again customer said no, there are few changes, again you go back. So finally, at one point customer will say yes, this looks perfect. Okay, so this is what I was looking for, now you can proceed with the development. Okay, so you will finalize your data design document and you will add it into the list of backlog, which is your asset objects. Okay, so backlog means what? You identify that there are customizations number 1, customization number 2, customization number 3. So you identify what number of Z transactions you want to add. Okay, or what number of custom codes that you need to add. So that is nothing but a data backlog. So in the explore phase, you have a complete fit document, you have a data design document, which is functional specs, and you also have a checklist of the data documents, like gap documents, so that you are in track of that, like where exactly are we and how can we proceed towards the realization phase. Now again in realization, normally what we do, we complete the realization for 4 months. So 4 months, no interaction with the customer, because customer has finalized on this list and we are working on the configuration. Okay, so no interaction with the customer. After 4 months, when we complete the realization phase, when we ask the customer to test, on day 1 itself, he issues a lot of problems. Okay, why? Because we understood the requirements, we created a document, but when we perform the configuration, we have not seen this document correctly, or maybe there may be any number of issues because of which we were not able to replicate what was expected by the customer. Okay, so what happens is you waste all those 4 months, and again there is a lot of rework. So how to avoid that? In order to avoid that, in SAP Activate, there is something called as sprint execution. So instead of doing all the realization at once, taking 4 months or 5 months of time, let's do it weekly realizations. So you decide what you want to complete this week. Okay, so make a weekly plan. For example, in this week, I will set up the enterprise structure. It is not necessarily weekly. I'm just giving you an example. It can be every 15 days also. So let's say every 15 days I have a target. I will set up this, and once I set up this, I will have a walkthrough with the customer. Here is it. So if there is anything wrong, it can be immediately resolved rather than waiting for 4 months. Okay, so you can see you perform your configurations into sprints. So only 7 days, 15 days configurations will be impacted if there is something wrong. So you do the walkthrough and then you go to the next step. That is, you perform your unit test. Okay, unit test, integration test, whatever test you want to perform here, and finally you ask your customer to perform the UAT. You make sure that everything is ready, prepare for the cutover, and just go live. Okay, so two important things to understand here, which are new compared to asset methodology. Number one, you need the cloud system. Number two, you are following the agile because of the situations, and this is sprint execution is coming from Scrum Master, which is again a technique which is being followed in the software industry to avoid the and to avoid the rework. Sorry, to avoid the rework. Okay, so instead of reworking after 4 months, if there is anything, you can do it here itself. So you can save a lot of time. Okay. Now let's talk about one thing in detail in the next slide. This is just another example. So basically, you are having two different workshops with the customers, two types of workshops. Okay, and just see the headline is validation instead of blueprinting. Okay, so you are no more doing the blueprinting. You are actually perform the validations. What is fit, what is gap. So that is called as the validation. Okay, so let's say there are two kind of workshops that will be happening with the customer. The number one workshop would be solution validation. Okay, which is part of your explore phase. Okay, so what you will do, you will show the system to the client. You can see, let me make it bigger. Yeah, so you set up the scope in the reference value. Second is validation of SAP solution, where you will be showing and telling SAP standard key design elements to the customers. So you are actually showing the system and identifying data and gaps. Okay, so that is the whole purpose of the solution validation, to find out what is fit and what is gap. Now, once you identify the gaps, let's say these are just for example 16 gaps. Okay, so out of 16 gaps, you need to identify which are more critical, which are less critical. Okay, you have to prioritize that. You have to prioritize that based on which gap you will try to solve first, which will come as a second priority, what will come as a third, and what will come as a fourth priority. So again, we see here there are 16 gaps in this example. 4 are must, which are most critical. Then should, then could, then would. Okay, so this is a priority in which you will go ahead with the gaps. And then you will create a data design document in the workshop B, data design. Okay, and in the workshop B, you will be discussing about the data design, which is a FS document, as I told you. You will verify and accept the changes in the data design, and based on that, you will keep on adding in the backlog. Okay, and finally, you have this release and sprint planning, which means you will release based on the priority what should be done first, what should be done second, what should be done third. right? So that is called as validation instead of business blueprinting. And let's go to the, I think this was the last slide. Yes, this was the last slide on the SAP Activate methodology. But apart from the slides, I want to show you a lot of information which you can get online on SAP Activate, and which is very important. So, for example, how to access the best practices, how to access the methodology. Okay, so guided configuration you don't need to worry because it is only available on the cloud version. Okay, so if you're using cloud version, by default the guided configuration will be available. Okay, so let me show you these two links where you will find the methodology and where you will find the best practices. Just give me a minute for that. Let me open these two sites. I will ping you the site URLs also on your chat screen. Okay, I sent you one URL on your chat screen. So if you want to see parallelly with me, you can click on that, or maybe just copy it and keep it somewhere safe. So maybe you can save it under your favorites because this would be very important. Okay, when you are working on the projects. Okay, let me know if you are able to see the screen. Can you see my screen now?
It's loading.
Okay. Please confirm once it is done. It's still loading.
For me, yes. I don't know for others.
What about others? Are you able to see my screen now?
Your home page is there. Yeah, I can see now.
Yes, now it's
Yeah.
going to see.
Okay.
Yes, I can see.
Okay. So this is called roadmap viewer. If you just type on Google SAP Activate roadmap viewer, okay, and maybe I already provided the link, so just go for this link, and in the roadmap viewer, you will find solution specific tab. Okay, so just click on this solution specific, or maybe even you can click here. No, instead of this, you should always click on this solution specific. Okay, so once you come on this solution specific page, okay, just wait, it is loading. Yes, can you see the now? Can you see now different options on the loading page?
Not yet.
Okay, so I'll be slow because it should not happen that I'm explaining and that page is not available. Just confirm once it is available. A lot of time. Not yet.
No, not yet.
Still not.
Okay, why it's taking that much time? So just give me a minute.
Methodology overview, not this.
Yes, exactly. Methodology overview. So are you able to see the complete page?
No, the only the first the menu bar, the person home SAP methodology overview, but the entire screen is white, still white.
Oh, What if I change the screen? Are you able to see the PPT or the same page till now? I think it is freeze.
For me, same page. Others?
Okay, so maybe the screen is freeze. Just give me a minute. Let me try to. Just let me know whenever there is any movement. Okay.
No, it's now the yes. Now I can see solution specific, session
Yes.
specific on cloud. Yeah.
Okay. 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 So this is the solution specific page. What do you mean by solution specific? So if you remember just now when we started SAP Activate in the first slide itself, I told you SAP Activate is available for all different type of deployment options. So it is available for cloud and it is also available for on-premise as well as hybrid. Second point we discussed, it is available for all SAP products starting from SAP S4 HANA. So which means it is available for Ariba, it is available for Hybris, it is available for SuccessFactors. Also, there are a lot of applications where SAP Activate methodology would be used. Okay, so same thing is explained here. You can see the first section is solution specific on cloud, and second part is solution specific on premise. Okay, so it depends.
Gaurav, your screen is freezed.
Are you still not able to see any movement on the screen?
Yeah, now
Okay, so is it appearing now on premise? Can you see this on premise?
Yes, coming. Yeah.
Okay, so there are two sections here, on premise and on cloud. Now, depending upon which version are you using, whether you are using cloud or you are using on premise, you have to select the proper version here. So let's say, for example, we want to see on premise. Okay, we want to see how SAP Activate methodology works on premise. So you can see there are three sections available here. Under on-premise, there is something called as transition to SAP S4 HANA. Okay, so this is relevant for us because we want to understand how can we use SAP Activate methodology for SAP S4 HANA. Second is transition to SAP BW for HANA. So again, this is a new product from SAP called as BW for HANA. Okay, so if you are implementing only BW for HANA, you will be going with this methodology. And third one is SAP S4 HANA upgrade and product integration roadmap. Okay, so you don't need to worry about this. There are a lot of products which are coming from SAP and they are following SAP Activate methodology for all these products. Okay, so let's forget about the third one. When it comes to cloud, okay, so if I go for cloud, you can see the first one is SAP Activate methodology for SAP S4HANA Cloud. So the customers who are going for the cloud version, this methodology will be relevant. Second is SAP Active methodology for SAP S4HANA Cloud, comma, single tenant edition. What is the difference now? What do you mean by single tenant versus this one? So again, if you remember, in our I think second session, we discussed about on-premise versus on cloud, and I told you normally cloud system is shared by multiple clients. Okay, so one single system, there can be multiple clients who are using the same system. Okay, but there are some companies who will not like this. Okay, because your system, your data may be, see, definitely uh, Amazon, Microsoft, SAP, they are making sure that your data is always secure. But still, if some companies are reluctant and they don't want to use the sharing system, they can ask SAP to provide single tenant edition. Single tenant edition means only your system will be deployed there. Your data will be deployed and it will not be shared by other clients. Definitely, the price, the subscription cost of the single tenant edition will be multifold compared to the normal S/4HANA Cloud edition. But these are the difference between the single tenant and just the cloud edition. Okay, then you have SAP Activate methodology for success factors, which is a cloud version on success factors. SAP S/4HANA methodology for SAP Hybris, SAP S/4HANA methodology for Ariba, and SAP Activate methodology for developing SAP S/4HANA cloud extensions. Okay, so in short, there are 6 methodologies available for cloud, and there are 3 methodologies which are available for on-premise. But when we are talking about our main SAP S/4HANA system, we don't need to worry about all these things. Let's click on this transition to SAP S/4HANA. Okay, so you can see in transition to SAP S/4HANA, this methodology is divided into 2 parts: phases and work streams. Okay, what are phases? Phases we just now discussed: discover phase, prepare phase, explore, realize, deploy, and run. What are work streams? Work stream means the kind of activities that you will be doing. For example, you will be designing and configuring the system, you will be performing the data migration, of project management, custom code extension, analytics. So in short, someone who is taking care of project management is not interested in configuring and data migration and all. He will be working on the project management activities. So in overall project, whatever activities are relevant to project management, you can find here. Whatever activities are relevant for custom code extension, you will find here. Whatever activities are related to testing, you will find here. Okay, so this is just an example. These are the work streams. Let's go to the phases. Within the phases, we already discussed there is discover, there is prepare, and SAP has provided complete detail of each and every phase. Okay, so what are the activities we'll be doing on the discover phase? Each activity is given in detail. So for example, let's go with discover. Okay, so I want to see whatever things are available within discover. So you can see within discover phase, it starts with the strategic planning. Okay, obviously, discovery means what? Customer want to discover how SAP can help me. So before they think about SAP, they need to understand what is their strategic planning, whether they are planning to implement ERP, whether they want to go for first tier applications or tier 2 applications and all. So those are all the strategic planning. Okay. Second is they will decide on the scoping, so whether they want to implement SAP S/4HANA only for finance or only for procurement. In short, what are the modules they want to implement, whether they want to go for hybrids, they want to go for success factors. So those things will be done during the discover phase itself. And then, very importantly, as I told you, trial system provisioning. So they will be using the trial system to discover what is new. So SAP provides the trial system. If you go through this, it will give you the complete detail. Okay, so any activity, if you click on it, it will give you the complete detail. So I want to go for provide a trial system. So it will tell you how to access the trial system. Okay, so you can see request an SAP trial system in the cloud and provide it to your project. How to request? So you can access the SAP Cloud Appliance via SAP CAL, which is called as Cloud Appliance Library, using this site. It is pay-per-use model hosted on Amazon Web Services. Okay, so as I told you, if you want to go for 30 days trial, this is 30-day trial on-premise application. Okay, and if the customer is interested to extend this for more than 30 days, then definitely you need to pay to SAP also. In addition to paying to AWS, you also need to pay to SAP. Okay, so you can see the procedure, go to SAP trial landing page, click on start your trial now, accept the terms and conditions, select the trial which you want to use. So now obviously 1809 is available, so nobody can go for 1709. Click on try now, accept the terms and conditions, and create an instance. Okay, and even in the accelerators, every activity when you go to SAP Activate methodology page, it provides you some accelerators. What do you mean by accelerators? Accelerator means the content. Like if you want to know more about that, go to this list. Okay, so for example, if I click on SAP S4 HANA trial landing page, it will take me to the landing page, which is this one, where you can access, start your 30 days trial. Okay, so even you can try this, but obviously, as I told you, you need to pay to AWS. So anyways, you have the server access to practice. So I don't think you need to go for this 30 days trial. If you want to try on your own, you can obviously go to this link and you can access the cloud trial version. Okay, so this was just an example of one of the activities that is possible in the entire project. Let's go to the explore phase now. We will see one activity in the explore phase. So in the explore phase, you have these activities. Phase initiation, learning design, performing the fit gap data design, introduction, finalize your setup. So maybe I will take any one as example. Okay, let's take this custom code impact analysis, which means let's say your customer was already using SAP ECC and now they are planning to go for SAP S4 HANA as a system conversion. So what will happen to their custom objects? What will happen to their Z objects which are already created? So let's click on this custom code impact analysis. You can see empowering on custom code management tools and create a custom code worklist. Okay, so these are the two activities. Maybe just click on one and it will give you the complete detail of that activity, how it needs to be performed. Okay, so in short, during the project, this link will help you a lot, provided you are using SAP Activate methodology, which is normally very few customers are following. Okay, because the knowledge is limited in SAP Activate methodology. But if you follow this, definitely the chances of project success are huge compared to the old methodologies that we are following from years. Okay, it is still loading. Okay, so what you can do is you just go to this link which I have given you today. Okay, and try to see most of the information, what is available in Discover, what is available in Prepare, and make sure that this link is available to you at all times whenever you. This link is not only helpful when you are working on the projects. There are few of us who are also working on pre-sales. We are working on, even I worked on a lot of pre-sales projects. So when we visit a customer, we need to tell them what methodology we will be following in our project. So there also, if you are talking about these new terminologies, there are high chances that customers will be impressed because nobody talked about these new methodologies. Everybody was talking about SF, even in SAP S4. This is the real scenario which I am giving to you. One of our customer was impressed just because we added SAP Activate methodology in the plan that we are going to follow this methodology. Okay, it is slow. So I think anyways, we don't need to go through that particular detail. So maybe we can close now. If you have any questions, please ask. Otherwise, go through this link, and if you have any doubts, we can definitely discuss in tomorrow's session. One more thing which I wanted to show you best practices, but I think maybe we can cover it tomorrow. So I'll show you how you can access the best practice documents, which will be very helpful again when you are working on the projects. It will give you the step-by-step process of each and every activity. Okay, any questions before we close?
No,
Good,
Gaurav.
Gaurav. Thank you.
Okay then, so let's close for today and we are meeting again tomorrow at same time.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Gaurav.